Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. When you think about the conflict in Ukraine, it's usually about like the military side of things, right? The battles, the aid.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Right.
today, we're going deep on something you might not have even considered. We're talking about Ukraine's mineral resources and how the US and the EU are kind of battling it out to, well, get their hands on them.
It's a big deal.
Big deal's right. We're going off this article. It's called Securing Ukraine's Mineral Resources. EU versus U.S. influence. And let me tell you, this thing reads like a geopolitical thriller, you know?
Yeah.
Seriously, the future of Ukraine, even the global tech scene, it could all come down to who controls these minerals.
Absolutely.
So one thing that really jumped out at me was, I don't know about you, but I was surprised to learn that France and the EU are like seriously pushing to secure access to these minerals.
Yeah, they're making some pretty bold moves, that's for sure.
Why? What's the big deal with what's underground over there?
Well, I mean, for starters, Ukraine's got huge deposits of lithium, cobalt, all these rare earth elements.
Rare earth
Yeah.
elements.
Yeah, they're not actually that rare, funnily enough.
Okay.
But they're super important for pretty much all our tech. Smartphones, you name it. Oh, and military tech, too.
So this is like the stuff of the future, right?
Mm,
And Ukraine's just sitting on a pile of it.
basically, yeah. Whoever controls these minerals, well, they've got a massive advantage in the global tech race.
Okay, so that makes sense why everyone's interested. But then the article also mentions how the U.S. is kind of, I don't know, using mineral deals as like a repayment strategy for the military aid they've been sending to Ukraine.
Yeah, it's an interesting tactic.
It is, but it feels a little bit risky, doesn't it? I mean, this whole minerals for military aid thing, it makes me think of that, what was it?
Nauru.
Nauru, yes, exactly.
Tiny island nation,
Tons of phosphate.
essential ingredient for fertilizer. And what happened?
Foreign powers basically came in, took everything, and left.
Yeah, left the island a mess, environmentally and
Yeah.
economically totally dependent.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder, right?
Exactly. It's a cautionary tale, that's for sure.
Okay, so we've got the EU making moves, the U.S. with this whole aid for minerals strategy. It sounds like Ukraine's caught in a tough spot, right?
Yeah, they're in a real geopolitical tug of war.
What do you think this all means for Ukraine's future, like long term?
Well, I mean, on the one hand, these deals could bring in some serious investment. They could get expertise in the mining sector, develop their infrastructure, create jobs, all good things, right?
Sure.
But, and it's a big but, there's a massive risk of exploitation here. I mean, we've seen this so many times throughout history. Powerful countries swoop in, take what they want, and leave the country.
Worse off.
Way worse up. It's that classic colonial story, isn't it?
Take the resources and run.
Yep.
So if Ukraine's going to do this, what can they do to protect themselves? Like, how can they make sure these deals actually benefit them in the long run?
Well, first off, transparency is key. I mean, they need clear agreements, no funny business, no hidden clauses or anything like that. And they absolutely have to prioritize environmental sustainability. We don't want to see Ukraine's land and water polluted because of reckless mining.
Right, right.
And I think maybe most importantly, they need to think long term. These deals. They need to create lasting benefits. Will they help Ukraine build a diverse economy, or will they just end up being dependent on exporting raw materials?
So let's say you're sitting down with these negotiators,
Yeah.
right? What are you looking for? What are the big red flags?
Well, for me, it's about technology transfer. It's about knowledge sharing. Don't just come in, take the raw materials, and leave. Help us build the infrastructure to process them, to add value here in Ukraine. That's how you create a sustainable future.
Right.
And then, of course, environmental protections. Those have to be rock solid, non-negotiable.
Yeah, it's like they're walking a tightrope, right?
Totally.
Trying to balance the need for investment with the risk of.
Getting taken advantage of. Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to a big question, doesn't it? I mean, could this whole competition for Ukraine's resources, even if the intentions are good, could it actually hurt their recovery and stability in the long run?
It's a real possibility, something we definitely need to consider.
Wow. It's a lot to think about. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive. It's been really insightful. And all our listeners out there, I mean, keep that question in mind. Keep it in mind as you follow the news about Ukraine. We'll see you next time.